Alright, so we're going to announce our next featured reader, Kimberly Reyes.
Woo!
Kimberly Reyes writes video game copy by day and is a warrior, poet, and MFA candidate at SFSU by night. She's a second-generation New Yorker who can't seem to stay grounded in any state or country, feeling most at home at U2 and Duran Duran shows, 80s-themed rollerskating rinks, and any ballpark where she can drunkenly pretend the Mets will win the World Series. Please welcome Kimberly Reyes.
That sounded weird being read out loud, but this is the folder that my poems are in.
Yeah.
It's playoff season. Okay. So this first poem I wrote this week, and it's called Hype Woman. Who lied about femininity? They love us as pit bulls, pets. If we grow a tough, dark skin, plump it up, every pound deepens our voices, and the void between who we are and what we want to be. When did they hand out the choice to do that? Who lied about size? We own less space than the slightest manic pixie dreams. Eyes still shut and yelping. When did we grow up? When were we allowed to be children? Who lied about redemption? We can't save you. There are no lines to throw from boats we don't own over shores we should have drowned in. Who lied about boundaries? Fat and scar tissue make the worst shields. Dulling borders no one obeys. We don't obey. Who lied about love? We can't get there. We can't get smaller, absorbing all light, swallowing the slights and fleeting attentions. Who lied about intentions? And so the next few poems I'm going to read have kind of a theme to them, and I didn't recognize. I took a few classes with Trung Tran, and he said to me, you know, your poetry is all about movement, both physically and subject-wise, and that was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, that's so obvious, and I never would have guessed that. And it was important for me because it was an investigation. It became an investigation of why that's the case. So. This first one is called Stand-ins. Blind bobbing for haven in a street fight makes them all vision quest. You did that, refusing the focus to build a nest. You leave and skip town before the street lamps come on, masking jagged bone, wanderlust, want, and fate, the grasping for flesh way too late. But the hollow cradles the distance, and the exact gaps they've unlatched. So you struggle to feel the difference between ally and guest. Justify how time should make you different, make you feel for an unpracticed caress, knowing it's unwise to ride the moment, easier to clean up the mess. And this one is called Holding Pattern. Negotiable inconsistencies, you explain, brush off, like backwards rains linking up an inhaling windshield. But now you're clean and out of excuses. Everyone wants to be seen. They always tell you. Even a proclaimed sociopath left all his eggs in a basket, weave by your door. They don't crack as much as ferment, disappoint. That moment they cease being the real thing. It's not your fault. You've been telling me that. It makes no sense you're not more gun-shy, with all the smoke sifting through your wake, the dense distractions that don't bear weight. You want to sleep through this part, and they aren't trying to hold you in place. I think I need wine. Okay. This next one is called Fall. You no longer recognize your favorite trail. In the park you left green in spring, before the last trip. The long veiny branches that carved your miles, upright in the summer, are no longer bending toward the light. They've collapsed. Entire patches deleted. Time zones skipped over. The talk you never had. You've maybe said his name twice since being back, which is downright frightening. You should not become accustomed to this. And the guy you agreed to drinks with too soon after. But time is on the table and you're eyeing the leftovers. Your father can't always be your emergency contact. That's due to reverse. Further down the road is now. He can't always be around. The days are getting shorter. There's too much to squeeze into an Indian summer, so you need to keep moving, quick enough to keep the sun. I opted for one. And this next one, a few of you have definitely heard. It's a poem that's one of my favorites, and I worked on it quite a bit over the summer. And I think I realized that it still has to do with the subject of movement. It's a poem about lineage and my history. And I feel like part of the reason, and this is again thanks to Trump for making me investigate this, part of the reason I'm so obsessed with movement is because the people that came before me couldn't move at all. So this one is called Blood in the Soil. Tracing the crimson-veined roots that have kneaded my spine, I found her name online. Lennison, my great-great, glowing on pixelated brown. Certification she was born before the war. We certainly didn't win. And though the website wouldn't name it, born belonging to Mr., Sirs, names don't matter, just that they took and gave her hers. Forced red South Carolina quicksand clay under her chattel nails. No lift in that lifetime. But she planted grit that quietly crept, high enough above the trees, to name her babies babies, to force their leaves. I mime her name, Lennison, with every rise. Mine is hers. I belong to her choreography, her suffocating whys. Her leaping over lives like my mother's, who belongs since she was 13, prom queen, teen dream, that birthed a promise, in exchange for not having to hold the eyes. Seeing with her own what they did to her mother, my grandmother, how they burned in her skull, fastening from new man to new child to new man, fanning the flame to get a share, cropped her roots, her 6-foot frame. Because not belonging in a world that won't claim you or how your mothers only knew belonging is the maim. Guideless steps become bloodthirst, a hunger game. But they only see what looks like sky, the bodiless hands, the third eyes, drop me in half stride, in races they could only dream of winning. Lennison wants the trophies without considering the wear of the track, the familial whip, the prodding crack. It's time, she says, to build stone homes we can live in, a roof, a plot in this lifetime, fireproof. But we're tired, they're tired, I wilt, I run out of sight and bend. For girls without proper provenance, our mothers are the homeland. And this next poem, well, the title says it all. It's called Your Last Name is Reyes, Is Your Husband Spanish? It could also be called, But You Don't Look Hispanic. The things I want to do to people who say that to me. In Lone Star, South Carolina, the struggle in the scorched soil recognized me. There's no denying its place or who inhabited this space. In Salinas, I converse with El Sol, the agave and plantain, invisible under their blades, his shade. I crave his warmth, but never sit in the sun. And this next one was inspired. I took a class here last semester where we just read Toni Morrison novels every week. I highly recommend that and highly don't. It's an intense semester. But the novel that has always spoken to me the most of hers is Beloved. And it was a perfect theme for like a mother trying to protect her daughter for this poem I wanted to write. And I also lifted some language from the novel, so it's a nice hybrid. Beloved. More than Pop-Tarts or Bruce Banner, my mom's quick wit was our shared triumph. Her beam, still fighting, still light in irises the color of her skin. Hearing her ignite through the voice of her dog, the sponge, weathering the waves of the strange hide-and-seek he obediently observed. Her banter, her barking, her delight in playing ventriloquist stilled us. More than the smell of blood, peroxide, or falling off my dusty pink, Mrs. Pac-Man skateboard, the scent of soreness from laughter, my grounding. I didn't know how much the scars would count, how age would make it all a collage without legend key. Without the speckled blood pavement, I could scrape the white off my fingernails too, connect the dots on. How I'd mourn the dog she had to forget she buried, because it was an accident, because of her baby brother, who fought the hallucinations, his scarlet scenes, a beloved, but too precious for this world, without his small peach pills. The smell of boiled fur hanging, I still remember, how the most innocent suffered the most cruelty. For her, the specifics melted away and hid in the merciful wings of dismemory, running, panning out, painting a sigh, tasting a glance. She used to be able to do that. But survival required broad strokes, with the new slits of irons framing her nose, juggling the weight, my nascent compass, struggling to stand straight. And this last one, so if you know me, you know my favorite poet is Gwendolyn Brooks. And in my head, we're always in conversation. And this one is called The Blueprint. I sit with Gwendolyn. We shuck ripe green peas over large, rusty cylinders, over bent, ashy knees. Deep in red clay, she smacks my hand. Stop fidgeting, child. Focus. She says the names don't matter. The tastes, the planes, the lessons are the same. Distraction costs lives, spends time. Fill the bucket. Snap and stop for the sap of the green. Snap and feel the round rise under your forefinger. Snap and stop looking down. Peas aren't all seeds. Let the red ground eat. I say I have a lot of ideas. She steadies my hands. Thank you.